Okay, today I'm going to make some Cornish pasties. Well, I say Cornish pasty, but the general term should be pasty now, because Cornwall has its own food protection law preventing people calling their pasties Cornish because they weren't made in Cornwall. Me being a typical Essex boy, will have to go along with that sort of thing. Now pasties, usually the traditional pasty would be a swede or a turnip with some potato in it, some onion and some finely chopped meat. And what I'm using here is a very decent slab of rump steak. I've got some flour for rolling my pastry out. My pastry is puff pastry. I like my Cornish pasties with puff pastry as opposed to short crust pastry. I think it gives a better texture and flavour. Short crust pastry is a little bit more dense, more like a pie. And over here in my bowl I've got my swede chopped up. That's the yellow one here. That's a swede. I've got a bit of onion in here, finely chopped onion, and I've got 2 small potatoes. So I've got 1 medium swede, 2 small potatoes, 1 chopped onion. Now what I'm going to do here with my rump steak, I'm going to finely trim that and then chop it to reasonably small chunks. And then we're going to season our vegetables after we mix the meat with our vegetables. And then we're going to add in a big teaspoon of mixed herbs as our flavour. And then we're going to roll our pastry out, cut it into discs, add our filling to the discs, do a bit of crimping, and then we're going to bake this in the oven. So here's my meat all diced up, trimmed up, it's all nice. Couple of twists of salt. Salt adds and enhances the flavour. Pepper adds some spice to your food. Cornish pasties can get away with a big old twist of black pepper. Mixed herbs. About a big tablespoon. So what are we doing? We can measure it. I'll do it. Get your hands in here. Mix it up. Just squeamish about touching food. Do it with a spoon. You're trying to get every piece of food in the bowl covered with the pepper and the salt and the mixed herbs. There we go. So all we need to do now is put that into our pastry. Take some flour that you've dotted around, rub it on your rolling pin. Put your pastry in the centre, on a clean surface obviously. I've just wiped mine down, disinfected it. Roll your pastry out. Now I've used shot ball butter puff pastry. It's so time consuming to make your own puff pastry you would not believe. First up you have to make your dough up, your pastry up. Then you have to layer it with butter, and what you would do, you lay your pastry out, put butter in it, fold it over, roll it out, put another layer of pastry on it, butter on it, all over, fold it over, roll it out, chill it, take it out of the fridge, roll it out, put some more butter in it, roll it out, put it back in the fridge, chill it, you know. And what you do in the butter, when you fold it over, you actually layer the pastry and the butter separates it. So when you cook it, the pastry rises and flakes apart because of the butter and the nature of the pastry you've just made. And the air layers you've actually created by folding it over and folding it over constantly. It could take a whole day to make some decent puff pastry. It's not worth it. Go and buy some. The shop machines do it fairly well these days. Now what I've got here, I've got a disc. There will be a disc in a minute. It's a couple of millimetres thick, which is what I want. What I'm going to do is get a plate, that sort of size. Score around the plate. Pasty size. Do that to the other one. So all we're going to do now, we have our disc, get our meat and our vegetable filling, give it a mix up, big handful, lay it to one side. Make sure you're generous with both the vegetables and the meat. Got some beaten egg here, just an egg yolk, beaten up, little paintbrush. Don't use the one you do your painting in the house, get a cooking one. Go around the outside. Right, now's the fun bit. Fold your pastry over, pat it down, turn it round, pat the pastry down, knock the air out. All we're doing is folding things over on itself. Just take the pastry, fold it over. There's a skill to this. I've seen some people in some factories doing this, and they do about 10 or 20 a minute. I can't even do one. So just fold the pastry over. Don't worry about any little cracks, we fill them up with the pastry. That's one done. Just lay that on your tray, lightly greased tray. I just pinch and squeeze and twist as I turn it. In effect, you're just forming a little pleat around the pastry as you're going and you're turning and you're twisting. It's nothing special. I like to do a little zigzag around the edge every once in a while. Take your egg yolk, brush all over. Cracking in some salt on the top of that will add a little salt glaze pattern to the top of the pasty. This is going to go in the oven now for about 20 minutes on about 180-200 degrees. After about 10 minutes, take your pasties out of the oven and give them another glaze with the egg yolk, beaten egg, Actually turn the pastry very golden indeed. So here are our pasties. One is actually split open. I was expecting that one to happen, but the others, you can see a golden crust on the flaky pastry. I'll just let these cool now, and this is ready to serve up with a lovely green salad. This is a meal in itself. In the old days, the Cornish miners used to take the meat side. One half of this would be meat and potatoes. The other half would have been a sweet dessert, like an apple pie or something. Legend has it that Cornwall's full of pixies and elves living down the mines, the tin mine, and they used to leave the crusts to appease the pixies and the elves that lived down the mine. So this is our lovely Cornish pasty, just served up with a green salad and some tomatoes. So I hope you give this a try. This is also a very good way to use up any Christmas leftovers. Instead of making pasties with meat and uncooked vegetables and then cook them in the oven, all you need to do there is take, say, your Christmas turkey, or you could do this with fish even. Any vegetables left over from Christmas time that go with your meat or your fish, mash that up or cut that up into dices, put this inside the pasty, lightly season that, and then cook it for about 25 minutes. All your ingredients for Christmas leftovers would already be cooked. So as a result, all you need to do is make sure the pastry is cooked. So I suggest, if you have leftovers for Christmas and you fancy something light for a snack on the days after Christmas, make a little pasty with your leftovers. It'll be very tasty, and I hope you give this a try.